power. The one who dominates conversations, raises their tone, or forces others to obey. But what if true power works in silence? What if the strongest presence is the one that doesn't need to shout, threaten, or even try? This is the paradox of power. The more someone pushes to appear strong, the weaker they look, and the one who doesn't even compete for dominance becomes the most dangerous person of all. Ayanokoji Kiyotaka embodies this paradox. He doesn't chase attention. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need validation. And yet, the moment he enters a room, something changes. People feel it, even if they can't explain it. A quiet pressure in the air, a subtle sense of danger. The kind of presence that makes others hesitate, second guess, and feel unsettled without him lifting a finger. Think about it. In real life, who scares you more? The person yelling angrily, or the one who sits silently, watching you with calm, calculating eyes? One burns energy, the other absorbs it. One reveals weakness, the other hides unfathomable depth. That is why people fear Ayanokoji without him trying. His power doesn't come from showing it, it comes from concealing it. This contrast is what makes him terrifying. Most people think manipulation and dominance are about aggression, talking more, pushing harder, proving strength. But Ayanokoji flips this completely. His strength comes from restraint, from silence, from knowing when not to act. And here's the secret. This isn't just anime fiction. This paradox of power plays out in real life every single day. Look around, in classrooms, at work, even in family arguments, you'll see it. The loudest person often loses control first. They get emotional, predictable, easy to manipulate. But the quiet observer, the one who listens before speaking, that's the person who controls the room, even when everyone else is too blind to notice. Ayanokoji terrifies people because he represents this hidden form of power. It's subtle, invisible, and impossible to fight. You can't argue with silence. You can't predict someone who never reveals their hand. And you can defeat someone who has already mapped out every move you Kraustik sind about to make. This is the paradox of true dominance. Not the person who announces it, but the one who conceals it until it's too late. And that is what we're about to unravel, why Ayanokoji doesn't need to try, yet still scares everyone around him. How silence becomes more powerful than words. How invisibility becomes the ultimate weapon. And how you can use the same paradox in your own life to protect yourself from manipulators, gain respect, and master control without saying a single word. So pay attention, because once you understand this paradox, you'll never see power the same way again. What makes someone intimidating without saying a single word? It's not their physical strength, it's not their status, it's their aura. Ayanokoji radiates something most people can't explain, an invisible pressure that makes others uneasy. He doesn't need validation, he doesn't seek approval, and because of that, he becomes untouchable. Most people are desperate to be noticed. They raise their voices, exaggerate their reactions, and bend themselves just to be acknowledged. But the moment you stop needing validation, you flip the power dynamic. You're no longer at the mercy of others' opinions. Instead, they're left wondering what you're thinking, why you're so calm, and what you might be planning. That mystery is terrifying. Psychologists call this non-reactivity, the ability to remain unshaken no matter what happens around you. Ayanokoji embodies this perfectly. He doesn't flinch under pressure. He doesn't rise to provocation. His stillness becomes more powerful than any emotional outburst ever could. Think about it. In any social group, there's always that one person who stays calm while everyone else gets loud. When arguments break out, they don't rush to defend themselves. They simply observe. And yet, somehow, the entire room starts to revolve around their quiet presence. That's the aura of control. You don't demand attention, you command it by showing you don't need it. In the workplace, this shows up as the quiet leader who doesn't talk over others. Instead, they wait, they analyze. And when they finally speak, Every word carries weight because people know it's coming from thought, not impulse. In relationships, it's the partner who doesn't react emotionally to every conflict. Their calmness forces the other person to reveal more, to push harder, until they expose themselves. And in confrontations, it's the individual who doesn't give manipulators what they want, an emotional reaction. Instead of anger or defense, they respond with silence or a simple, neutral glance. That alone is enough to make manipulators lose balance because they feed on reactions. Take that away, and you take away their power. This is Ayanokoji's invisible weapon. His aura doesn't scream strength, it whispers it. And that whisper is louder than a shout. The truth is, people fear what they can't predict. They fear what they can't read. A loud, emotional person gives away their entire playbook. But a calm, detached presence, that's an unsolvable puzzle. And humans hate puzzles they can't solve. Ayanokoji doesn't win by proving himself. He wins by staying unreadable. His silence, his stillness, his detachment, they create a psychological fog that others can't penetrate. And the more they try to break through, the more trapped they become. Here's the lesson. If you want to project power, stop chasing attention. Stop reacting to every move around you. Learn to embrace stillness. Detachment is not weakness, it's strategy. The less you need validation, the more control you gain. This is why Ayanokoji is unstoppable. His aura of control doesn't come from force. It comes from freedom. The freedom of not needing approval, the freedom of being untouchable, and the freedom of knowing that silence can speak louder than words. And once you understand this invisible aura, you can use it in your own life. In school, at work, or in relationships, your calm detachment will shift the entire balance of power. You won't just blend in. You'll stand above, even when you say nothing at all. There's a simple truth in psychology. People fear what they don't understand. And that's where Ayanokoji becomes terrifying. He never shows all his cards. He never reveals his full strength. Instead, he hides just enough to keep everyone guessing. And that uncertainty, what is he really capable of, becomes a weapon more powerful than any direct threat. Mystery equals intimidation. Imagine two fighters. One throws punches loudly, aggressively, showing off every move. The other just stands still, calm, with no expression, giving nothing away. Who would you fear more? Most people say the silent one, because silence breeds imagination, and imagination always exaggerates the danger. This is Ayanokoji's genius. By holding back, he lets others fill in the blanks. They start to overestimate him, assume the worst, and fear possibilities that may not even exist. He doesn't need to prove he's powerful. People decide he is, because they can't see his limits. Psychologists call this the fear of the unknown. Our minds hate uncertainty. When we can't measure someone, we default to assuming they're dangerous. That's why horror movies rarely show the monster in full, because the unknown is scarier than the known. Ayanokoji applies the same principle to human psychology. Think about his classmates. They never know how smart he really is, how strong he really is, or what he's truly planning. And that not knowing is what paralyzes them. Even when he stays in the background, his silence becomes louder than their noise. They keep second-guessing. What if he's ahead of us? What if he's setting a trap? What if we're already losing? Now look at real life. The people who get the most respect are often the ones who reveal the least. In workplaces, the leader who doesn't overshare plans or emotions holds more authority. In social groups, the person who doesn't constantly talk about themselves seems more mysterious, more intriguing. And in confrontations, the one who doesn't over-explain commands more respect than the one who justifies every move. Because the less you reveal, the more others project onto you. And that projection is usually bigger, scarier, and more powerful than reality. This is why mystery is not weakness, it's strategy. By not showing everything, you control the story people tell about you. And that story often works in your favor. Ayanokoji embodies this principle perfectly. He wins not by proving his strength, but by making others doubt theirs. He lets their imagination destroy them. Here's the life-changing lesson. Stop oversharing. Stop explaining yourself to everyone. Stop giving manipulators free access to your mind. When you hold back, you create space. And in that space, others begin to respect, fear, or admire you. Because they can't define you. The power of hidden depth is not about being fake. It's about understanding that people respect silence more than noise, mystery more than exposure, restraint more than excess. And once you master this, you'll realize you don't need to shout to be powerful. You don't need to prove to be respected. The less they know about you, the more they fear you. That's the secret Ayanokoji lives by, and it's a weapon anyone can use. There is a hidden advantage most people never use, the ability to wait. In a world where everyone rushes to speak, to prove, to defend themselves, the one who stays silent gains an invisible edge. And this is where Ayanokoji dominates. He doesn't rush. He doesn't fight to be heard. He simply watches. He waits. And when the time is right, he strikes with precision. Observation before action. That is his true weapon. Manipulators always expose themselves too early. They talk too much. They try too hard. They show their hand before the game has even begun. But not Ayanokoji. He listens. He studies. Every tone, every gesture, every pattern. Before he moves, he already knows where his opponent will fall. This is not silence. It is intelligence gathering. It is the same principle a chess master uses. He doesn't throw pieces across the board. He studies. He calculates 10 steps ahead. And while the impatient player rushes forward, the master waits. That patience turns into complete control of the board. Think of a predator in the wild. The lion doesn't roar before the hunt. The hawk doesn't flap its wings without reason. They stay still. They wait. And when they strike, there is no escape. Ayanokoji applies this same predator's patience to human interaction. He lets others expose themselves. He lets them underestimate him. And when the time comes, the fight is already over before it begins. Silence is leverage. In negotiations, the person who speaks less often wins more. Why? Because silence creates pressure. Humans hate gaps. They rush to fill them, often revealing secrets or making concessions without realizing it. In arguments, the loudest person always loses control. But the one who stays calm and silent holds the power. He controls the rhythm, he sets the pace, and the other side begins to play his game. This is why silence feels so dangerous. People project their fears onto the quiet one. What is he thinking? Why isn't he speaking? Does he know something I don't? That uncertainty is the trap. And here's where the real world mirrors Ayanokoji's genius. In business, when someone names a price, the strongest move is to say nothing. That pause forces them to question themselves, sometimes lowering their offer before you have even spoken. In social life, silence builds intrigue. The person who doesn't reveal everything is seen as more confident, more controlled, more respected. In conflicts, silence prevents escalation. Instead of reacting emotionally, staying quiet gives you time. And in that time, you gain control. Silence is not weakness, it is a weapon. It is the art of making others reveal themselves while you remain unreadable. The lesson is simple. Stop rushing to respond. Stop wasting energy trying to prove yourself. Wait, observe, watch. Because the one who waits always sees more than the one who reacts. This is the strategy of silence. And once you master it, you will hold the same untouchable dominance that makes Ayanokoji terrifying without even trying. There is one rule that separates the controlled from the controlled, the strong from the weak, the free from the trapped. That rule is detachment. Ayanokoji is feared not because of his intelligence alone, but because he is untouchable. He never gets dragged into emotional traps. He never reacts out of anger, pride, or fear. He simply sees emotions for what they are, tools to manipulate others, but never weapons that can be used against him. This is emotional neutrality. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm and not moving. The winds scream, the chaos rages, yet you remain calm. That calmness itself becomes terrifying, because people expect a reaction. And when you give them none, they lose control. Think about manipulators in the real world. In toxic relationships, they feed on your reactions. They want you to beg, to cry, to fight back. The more you react, the more fuel they gain. But if you detach, if you remain neutral, their entire game collapses. They suffocate without your emotional energy. In workplace conflicts, the loudest voice often wins in the short term. But the one who stays calm wins in the long term. The one who doesn't get triggered, who doesn't rise to every insult, becomes the person others quietly respect. Emotional detachment is authority. It makes people second guess every move against you. Here's the principle: the less attached you are, the freer you become. Attachment means chains. Chains to people, chains to outcomes, chains to fears. And once someone knows what you're attached to, they can control you. But if nothing owns you, no one can use you. Ayanokoji shows this perfectly. He doesn't care about recognition. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't cling to victories or fear losses. Because of that, no one can threaten him. He is free from the emotional hooks that control everyone else. Ask yourself, what do you get triggered by? Is it disrespect? Is it being ignored? Is it losing status in front of others? That's where you're weak. That's where you can be manipulated. And the solution is detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about everything. It means you stop being controlled by outcomes. You still act, you still plan, but your emotions remain your own. You are no longer a puppet to what happens outside you. This is why Ayanokoji cannot be defeated. He plays the game, but he is never played by the game. He uses emotions as chess pieces while never letting them dictate his moves. That calm, that neutrality is what creates fear. Because you cannot fight someone who has nothing to lose. The truth is, most people are slaves to their attachments. They cling to approval, to relationships, to money, to reputation. And every manipulator knows this. They pull those strings, and people dance. But once you cut those strings, you become untouchable. Emotional detachment is not coldness. It is freedom. It is the ability to walk through chaos and remain in control. It is the ability to face manipulators and smile, knowing they cannot touch you. The less attached you are, the more powerful you become. That is why detachment is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. And it is the reason Ayanokoji's psychology is unstoppable. Power is not always about what you show. Sometimes it is about what you never reveal. Ayanokoji understands this better than anyone. His greatest weapon is not his intelligence, not his physical ability. It is his unreadable mask. His blank face is a mirror. When people look at him, they don't see his emotions. They see their own fears, their own insecurities, their own projections. And that is the genius. Because when you reveal nothing, people reveal everything. Think about a poker table. The loudest players throw their emotions across the table. Confidence, frustration, panic. You can read them like an open book. But then there is the one with the poker face, the one who shows nothing. Every hand they play becomes a mystery, and that mystery creates fear. Are they bluffing? Are they holding a winning card? You don't know, and that uncertainty is power. Ayanokoji lives in that space. His face doesn't give away what he's thinking, what he wants, or what he plans to do next. And because of that, people cannot predict his moves. They cannot calculate his next step. They overthink, second guess, and in the process, they expose themselves. Psychology proves this. Ambiguity increases fear. The human brain hates the unknown. When we can't read someone, we fill in the blanks with our imagination. And imagination is always more terrifying than reality. That's why a shadow in the dark feels scarier than a monster in the light. The unknown is always more powerful. In negotiations, this works the same way. The one who speaks less, the one who doesn't flinch, doesn't smile, doesn't react, controls the room. Everyone else starts talking more, trying harder, revealing their true positions. Meanwhile, the silent one gathers information without ever giving any away. That is dominance through mystery. Ayanokoji's mask is exactly that. A silence that forces others to talk, a stillness that makes others restless, a blankness that turns people's minds against themselves. His calm expression becomes a battlefield where opponents fight their own thoughts. And here's the truth. Predictability is weakness. If people can read your emotions, they can control you. If they know what excites you, what angers you, what scares you, they have the blueprint to manipulate you. But if you stay unreadable, you deny them that map. You remain untouchable. In toxic relationships, manipulators survive by reading reactions. They push buttons to see what hurts, what triggers. But if you wear the mask, if you don't flinch when provoked, don't rise when insulted, you starve them. They push and nothing happens. They pull and nothing moves. They grow weaker as you remain in control. The beauty of Ayanokoji's psychology is that his mask doesn't just hide his thoughts. It creates an illusion. It makes others believe he might know more than he shows, that he might be 5 steps ahead, even when he isn't moving. That illusion alone is enough to dominate, and this is something you can use in real life. In the workplace, when conflict rises, don't always rush to defend yourself. Let silence work. In negotiations, don't reveal everything at once. Let others speak first. In relationships, don't show every thought or emotion on your face. Let mystery protect you. Because here's the principle. The less people know, the more power you hold. Ayanokoji's mask is not just a shield, it's a weapon. His blankness is not emptiness, it is control. A control that forces others to play a game they can never win. And that is why his presence alone inspires fear. Not because of what he says, but because of everything he doesn't. Imagine a tense business negotiation. 2 companies are fighting over a multi-million-dollar deal. On one side of the table, the manager speaks quickly, pushing numbers, explaining every benefit, trying hard to convince. His voice rises, his hands move, his face reveals nervousness with every word. On the other side sits a silent man, calm, unmoving. His face gives away nothing, no excitement, no frustration, no reaction at all. The room grows heavy. The nervous manager keeps talking, filling the silence with more and more information, without realizing he's exposing his weaknesses. Finally, after 10 minutes of silence, the calm man simply leans forward and says one sentence, "We'll consider." And in that moment, the balance of power has shifted. The loud one gave away everything. The silent one gave away nothing. The mask won the war before the deal was even signed. Powerful people are rarely the loudest in the room. The real power belongs to the one who controls silence. And no one embodies this truth more than Ayanokoji. In Class D, whenever tensions rise, most students rush to speak, explaining, defending, justifying. But Ayanokoji does the opposite. He simply stares. He says nothing. And that silence creates more fear than any words ever could. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is pressure. It forces people to reveal themselves. They start talking too much, over-explaining, exposing cracks they never intended to show. Think about a debate. The one who panics is always the one who rushes to fill the silence. In a job interview, the nervous candidate keeps talking to cover the quiet. In a negotiation, the desperate side lowers the price simply because the other side didn't respond quickly. The lesson is clear. He who speaks less controls more. Picture this scene. The classroom is filled with chaos. Students argue, accuse, and defend themselves. Finally, someone turns to Ayanokoji. "What do you think?" He lifts his eyes, calm and steady. He doesn't answer. Seconds pass. The air grows heavy. His silence cuts deeper than any words could. One student breaks first, blurting out an excuse that exposes a weakness. The others follow, scrambling to defend themselves further. And Ayanokoji? He never spoke a single word. His silence destroyed them. This is silent dominance. The same rule applies in real life. In arguments, silence disarms the aggressive. Instead of rushing to shout louder, you go quiet. Hold your gaze. Let the silence stretch. They will feel exposed, guilty, and uncertain, even if you said nothing. Recruiters in job interviews use this trick all the time. They pause after your answer, waiting. Most candidates panic, start rambling, and reveal insecurities. But the candidate who can sit calmly in silence appears composed, confident, and powerful. In leadership, silence builds respect. The boss who shouts loses authority. The leader who listens, waits, and speaks only when necessary creates an aura of gravity. People lean in when they finally speak because silence has built anticipation. Psychologically, silence terrifies because humans hate uncertainty. Words give clarity. Silence leaves people guessing. Did they agree? Did they disagree? Are they judging me? Are they planning something? That uncertainty eats away at the mind until silence feels louder than words. This is why Ayanokoji scares people without even trying. His stillness, his calm stare, his refusal to fill the air with noise, all of it makes others collapse under their own weight. His silence is not passive. It is an active weapon of psychological warfare. Remember this: he who speaks less controls more. Because words can be argued against, but silence cannot be fought. It lingers in the mind, forcing others to battle themselves long after the moment has passed. That is the essence of silent dominance. Sometimes the greatest strength is not in showing power, but in hiding it. Ayanokoji proves this again and again. By acting average, he disarms everyone around him. He blends in, looks harmless, even forgettable. But that disguise is what makes him dangerous, because the moment his true ability surfaces, it's already too late for anyone else to respond. This is the art of turning weakness into power. Think about it. When people underestimate you, they lower their guard. They reveal their plans openly, they dismiss you as irrelevant, and they never see you as competition. And when the time is right, when you finally act, the shock of your hidden strength destroys them. Ayanokoji is a master of this. He hides his intelligence, avoids attention, even lets others take credit for victories. To his classmates, he seems passive. But in reality, he is observing, calculating, waiting. Then, at the decisive moment, he reveals just enough power to win. The impact is magnified because no one expected it. History is full of this principle. Military generals often feigned weakness to lure enemies into traps. In ancient China, Sun Tzu wrote that when you are strong, you must appear weak, and when you are weak, you must appear strong. This deception forces the enemy to miscalculate. Even in modern warfare, this rule is alive. Armies sometimes retreat on purpose, pretending to be broken, only to ambush when the enemy is overconfident. Weakness is not weakness. It is camouflage. Sports follow the same principle. A fighter may act slow in the opening rounds, conserving energy, letting the opponent feel confident. Then suddenly, in the later rounds, he unleashes speed and strength the opponent never prepared for. The shock alone can win the fight. The psychology behind this is simple. Human beings create mental boxes. They categorize people quickly: strong, weak, leader, follower. Once they put you in a box, they stop paying attention. Ayanokoji weaponizes this. By living inside the average box, he makes sure no one studies him closely. And that allows him to move in the shadows, undetected, until it matters. In real life, this is a powerful strategy. At work, you don't always need to prove you are the smartest in the room. Sometimes it's better to let others underestimate you. They will share information freely, expose their insecurities, and ignore you as a threat. Then, when the opportunity comes, you deliver results so powerful that no one saw it coming. In toxic relationships, this principle protects you as well. Instead of arguing or proving yourself, you stay quiet, appear unaffected, even let them think they have won. But inside, you are calculating, saving your strength for the one move that ends the manipulation entirely. Here's the deeper truth. When you appear average, you conserve psychological energy. You don't waste time proving your worth every second. Instead, you invest that energy in observation, in patience, in timing. And timing is everything. One decisive action at the right moment is worth more than 100 displays of strength at the wrong time. Ayanokoji shows us that pretending to be weak is not cowardice. It is strategy. By lowering the expectations of others, you create the element of surprise. And surprise is the purest form of power. So remember this. Do not rush to prove yourself. Do not waste energy showing off every skill you have. Let the world believe you are ordinary. Let them underestimate you. Because when the decisive moment arrives, your hidden strength will not just win, it will overwhelm. This is the art of turning weakness into power, and it is one of the greatest weapons of a true strategist. What makes a mind unstoppable? It is not raw intelligence, not brute strength, and not even ambition. True unstoppable power comes from mastering the hidden psychologies that most people overlook. Ayanokoji embodies these psychologies with terrifying precision. He does not just win, he makes it impossible for others to even stand on the same ground as him. There are 3 hidden forces that combine into what I call the unstoppable mindset. Control through mystery, patience before the strike, and silence with detachment. Let's break each one down. First, control through mystery. People fear what they cannot understand. When someone is completely transparent, predictable, and loud about their intentions, others adapt quickly. They prepare counters. They lower their fear. But when you are mysterious, when you reveal nothing, people project their own fears onto you. They imagine the worst. They give you credit for abilities you may not even have. That imagined power is often stronger than the real thing. Ayanokoji never reveals the full extent of his strength. He hides his capabilities, releases just enough to dominate when required, then retreats back into silence. The result? Everyone around him is trapped in uncertainty. Is he stronger than we think? Is he watching me right now? What is he planning? That fog of mystery is control, because people fear the unknown more than they fear any known threat. Now, the second pillar, patience before the strike. This is the opposite of how most people behave. The average person is impatient, desperate to act, desperate to prove themselves. They rush, and when you rush, you reveal your hand too early. You lose leverage. But patience, real patience, is power. It is like a hunter who waits for hours, unmoving, until the prey steps into the perfect position. When Ayanokoji acts, he acts only once the conditions guarantee victory. He never wastes energy. In life, patience is not just waiting, it is watching. It is collecting information, reading the environment, studying people until their patterns are exposed. Then, when the decisive moment arrives, one action has the force of 100. That is how wars are won. That is how negotiations are conquered. And that is how influence spreads without effort. Finally, the third force, silence and detachment. Most people are easy to manipulate because they react emotionally. They get angry, they get defensive, they get provoked. But Ayanokoji is a fortress. His silence creates unease. His detachment makes him untouchable. No insult can drag him down. No manipulation can trap him. No emotional bait can pull him into chaos. When others lose control, he remains calm. And the calmest mind always wins. Silence itself is a weapon. In a debate, the person who speaks less holds the tension. In negotiations, the one who can sit quietly while the other side panics always has leverage. Detachment is freedom from control. When you are not desperate for approval, not desperate for outcomes, you become immune. Nothing chains you. Now imagine these 3 combined: mystery, patience, silence. That is the unstoppable mindset. It terrifies opponents because they cannot measure you. It frustrates manipulators because they cannot move you. And it empowers you because every action you take has maximum impact. For the viewer, the lesson is clear. Do not rush to prove your power. Instead, become mysterious. Let your results speak, not your words. Practice patience. Delay gratification. Delay response. Delay reaction. The longer you wait, the more power you accumulate. And above all, master silence and detachment. Speak only when necessary. Act only when conditions are right. Remain free from emotional chains. This is not just about being like Ayanokoji. This is about personal mastery. Imagine walking into a room and commanding respect without saying a word. Imagine handling conflict without stress, simply by staying calm and letting others exhaust themselves. Imagine people underestimating you, only for you to strike when it matters most. That is the unstoppable mindset. Remember, strength alone is not enough. Intelligence alone is not enough. Even ambition alone is not enough. The true path to mastery lies in psychology. And those who master these hidden forces, mystery, patience, silence, become unstoppable. Power. Everyone talks about it. Everyone chases it. But very few truly understand it. Most people imagine power as muscles, wealth, influence, or a loud voice that dominates a room. But the reality, the terrifying reality, is that true power is psychological. The strongest person is not the one who shouts the loudest. It is the one who can stay silent when others scream. The one who reacts least when others are desperate to provoke them. The one who hides depths no one can measure. That is unstoppable power. Look at Ayanokoji. He never needs to prove anything. He never raises his voice. He never demands recognition. Yet people around him are terrified. Why? Because he shows nothing. And in showing nothing, he reveals everything. He becomes untouchable. And that is the lesson you must take. Being unstoppable is not about dominating others physically. It is not about chasing endless external validation. It is about mastering your inner world. If you control your reactions, you control your life. If you remain patient, detached, and mysterious, you become someone no one can manipulate. Think about it. How many times have you been dragged into pointless arguments? How many times have you wasted energy proving yourself to people who do not even matter? How many times have you reacted emotionally, only to regret it later? That is weakness disguised as strength. But imagine a new version of you. A version that does not rise to insults. A version that observes before acting. A version that hides its true strength until the perfect moment. That version of you is unshakable. That version of you is feared, respected, and quietly admired. The world does not reward noise. It rewards control. The less you show, the more power you hold. Let that line echo in your mind. The less you show, the more power you hold. Every time you resist the urge to react, you grow stronger. Every time you hold back your full ability, you increase your leverage. Every time you remain calm while others lose control, you win without even moving. This is how you transform from ordinary to unstoppable. Now here's the emotional truth. Not everyone will walk this path. Most people are addicted to noise, to validation, to reaction. They cannot sit still. They cannot be patient. They cannot stay silent. That is why they remain average. But if you are watching this, you already know you are different. You already feel the pull toward mastery, toward something greater. The question is not whether you can do it. The question is whether you will choose to. So here is your challenge. Starting today, train your psychological strength. Do not reveal everything about yourself. Practice silence in moments where you would normally speak. Practice patience in moments where you would normally rush. Practice detachment when people try to manipulate your emotions. This is not easy, but it is the path to becoming unstoppable. And the truth is, once you taste that level of control, you will never want to go back. You will see people around you for what they are: reactive, emotional, desperate. And you will realize you are free from that cage. That is the final lesson. Control yourself, and you control the world. Master your mind, and you master your destiny. Before we close, remember this. The less you show, the more power you hold. Let this principle become your compass. Let it guide how you move, how you speak, how you think. Because once you internalize it, you will no longer be just another person trying to survive. You will be the storm that others cannot predict. And this is just the beginning. Because in the next video, we will uncover the hidden trick that manipulators fear the most. The one technique they cannot defend against. If you thought today's lesson was powerful, what comes next will completely change the way you see human psychology. So stay tuned, subscribe, and step into the shadows with me. Your journey to becoming unstoppable has only just begun.